Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good evening, everybody. We are going to start off the 71 Sutta discussion on Mondays. Tonight's talk is going to be on a sutta called Nakasika Sutta. Some people call it Nakasika Sutta. Basically, it means a fingernail. But I have put the topic to be this way. How does the value of human birth cultivate the mind and equality of others? So it clearly means that we need to appreciate our human birth. So one of the things that I will be discussing today is that why we need to appreciate human birth, as well as the flip side of appreciating the human birth could be kind of a wrong, conception. Some people maintain that being born to other types of beings could be insulting, could be not good, and that kind of mentality. So I'm trying to talk about the value of the human birth. On the other side, I'm going to talk about how we can treat everybody with equality. So because these two have to go in tandem. So first, I want to tell you that the sutta called Nakasika Sutta, which means a fingernail, it appears in Samyutta Nikaya, Opama Samyutta 20.2 Sutta. This sutta is a very short sutta, wherein Buddha talks about the significance of being born as a human. So let's take a look at what Buddha has to say about the human birth. Let me read in Pali. Nakasika Sutta Savatyam, which means this sutta was taught when the Buddha was living in the city called Savatthi, which is the capital city of Kosala state Kosala. Atako Bhagava Paritang Nakasikayang Pansum Arupitva Bhikkhu Amantisi Tang Kim Manyata Bhikkhave Khatam Mannuku Bahutarang Yochayang Maya Paritto Nakasikayang Pansu Arupito Ayangva Maha Pataviti. I think a lot of people may know this story. Once Buddha took a little bit of dirt under his fingernail, and he questioned the monks, and this is that incident. There are a couple other incidents that happen in the same way, but this is one of the incidents wherein we see Buddha picked up a little bit of dirt under his fingernail and asked some questions. So the meaning of that pharah which I just read is this: at Savatthi, then the Buddha picking up a little bit of dirt, some people translate this to be dust, under his fingernail, addressed the mendicants. What do you think, mendicant monks, which is more, a little bit of dirt or dust under my fingernail, or this whole great earth? It's a pretty common sense question. Etadeva bhante bahutarang yadidam maha patavi. It is no surprise that monks answered to the Buddha, it is this great earth which is moho. Appamatta koyang bhagavata paritto nakasikayang pansuarupita. And they said, so the great earth is far more, the little bit of dirt or dust under your fingernail is tiny. Sankhampina upeti, compared to the great earth, right? Upanidhimpina upeti, it can be reckoned. Kalabhagampina upeti, so it can be compared, it can be reckoned, it can be even a fraction can be even a fraction of the great earth. Kalabhag gampina upedi. Maha pataving upanidhaya bhagavata parittu nakasikhayang pansu aropitodi. So the great earth is far more. The little bit of dirt or dust under your fingernail is tiny compared to the great earth. It can be reckoned or compared. It is not even a fraction of the great earth. The great earth is that big. Okay. Evameva ko bhikkhave appakate satta ye manussesu pacha jayanti. Atako eteva bahutara satta ye anyatra manussehi pacha jayanti. This is the most important part of this sutta. And Buddha says, in the same way, the sentient beings reborn as humans are very few, while those not reborn as humans are many. So now you understand, when people die, or I would say when you take a look at how how many beings are reborn as humans, it is few, while those not reborn as human are many, who are not part of this human world. Tasmatiha bhikkhave evaṁ sikkitabbaṁ appamatta viharissamati evaṁ hi vo bhikkhave sikkitabbaṁ. So you should train like this. We will stay diligent. That's how you should train. Now, this is very interesting because in many suttas we talk about this great virtue called appamada, diligence, and I think in one of the suttas we discuss in couple months ago that appamada is the greatest kusala. It is like an elephant foot. Like you can see the foot of all the other beings can be put inside the foot of an elephant. In the same way, all the other kusalas, wholesome activities can be put inside this appamada. So appamada is the greatest kusala in the kusalas. So the Buddha says we have to stay diligent so that we can practice to be reborn as humans. I mean, in case if we don't enlighten this in this life. So I want to tell you at this point that you need to understand that Buddha taught the monks that obtaining a human birth is very, very rare. Now, you also need to know that Buddha says not that not it is rare, not it is very difficult for a human to be reborn as human. What Buddha says is that if a non-human wants to be a human, it's a great deal. So that means it's not that easy. But you should not take it as a comfortable thing, because we never know what will happen when we die. But I can say that in most of the suttas, including Bala Pandita Sutta, where we know this human birth was highly appreciated, we see that not that human beings are unable to obtain a human life, but other beings, excluding human beings, are difficult to be reborn as humans. So that's the main thing we have to understand. So we'll talk more about it after this. So I want to point out some important points of this discussion about being born as a human. Now, why does Buddha say that obtaining a human life is very important? So the main thing is, it is the place where you are eligible to become an arhat. It is the place where you can do things to stop samsara. Now, if you take a look at the devas in 6 heavens, if you take a look at apayas, all these places, pretty much all these places, they are not that eligible to practice Dhamma, so that understand the Four Noble Truths, thereby become an Arahant, at least to become a Sotapanna. We know some isolated incidents where some devas, some yakas, and some beings were able to, become sort of, spiritual at different points, but mainly, one becomes eligible in eliminating one's samsara, ending one's samsara by being born as a human. So that's the most important thing. On the other hand, now we all are humans at this point, right? We never know how important it is to be, be reborn as a human, unless we don't experience what other beings experience by not becoming humans. Now, for example, if somebody is reborn as an animal, that's a really painful thing. When we look at animals in our understanding, it doesn't mean that animals are low beings. In terms of attaining nibbana, being in order to become an arahant, animal birth could be a problem. So that's something we had to think about. It's not for other things, but basically in order to become an arahant, in order to become someone who wants to end the samsara, human birth is the most eligible place. Now, if you take a look at other types of beings, not even arahants, if you take a look at Buddhas and Pacceka Buddhas, they also take long periods of time to practice perfections, paramitas. Now we know Buddhas and Pacceka Buddhas, they have to take relatively a longer time than arahants. So it's a risk. It's a big risk, but they take it. But they know that they're gonna be attaining Buddhahood or Pacceka Buddhahood at one point. But for beings like us, we should not take a risk. What I'm asking you at this point is, please stay diligent, stay with Appamada, and try to become Sotapanna. And do not let this pass by. Do not allow yourself to slide by, because this is very dangerous if you don't take this chance, if you don't take this opportunity. If you don't take this opportunity, you never know, you will get the same opportunity in the next life. That's why, without expecting things in a future life, that I may be reborn as this and that, you've got the opportunity at this point, please try to understand Four Noble Truths and then become a Sotapanna, and then gradually become an Arahant in this very life. So that's the most important thing about becoming human. But I want to talk a few other things too about this human birth. Now, let's take a look at the Bala Pandita Sutta to understand this special thing. Bala Pandita Sutta is the 129th sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya. In that sutta, there's this kind of teaching. Buddha is using kind of a simile. It compares it to a wooden cattle yoke floating on the waves of the sea, tossed this way and that by the winds and currents. The likelihood of a blind turtle rising from the depths of the ocean to the surface once in 100 years, putting his head through the hole in the yoke, is considered greater than that of a being in the animal kingdom, ghost or other hells, achieving rebirth as a human. So that's why I was telling you that this is not about humans. Not humans are reborn as human, that kind of a thing. This is about animals or non-humans. The kind of the possibility of a non-human to be reborn as a human is that difficult, that rare. The example is a blind turtle is trying to come out of the ocean to the surface level and trying to look at outside of the ocean through through a cattle yoke, and this particular incident happens once in every 100 years, if it happens. So that's a very rare possibility. And for an animal, for a non-human being, it's that difficult to be reborn as a human. So that's the example, not for human beings. Now this is really interesting. Now, if you think about this way, now we all are humans. Do we have a greater chance of becoming humans? Yes. But sometimes no. Now, one of the things that I understand is that you need to be with humans. You need to interact with humans. You need to think more about humans. I'm not saying that we should, sort of insult animals. We should excommunicate. We should chase animals. No, we have to respect them. We have to take care of them. But oftentimes you have to be with humans. You have to help them. You have to spread loving kindness to humans. You have to do most of your things with humans. So you have this human mentality. But some people are not. They are spending the whole day, without this human mentality. So their mentality works with some other kind of things, right? So that's why I'm saying to increase the chance of becoming reborn as humans, you need to interact with humans a lot. You need to be helpful, you need to be kind, you need to be nice, you need to be helpful, you need to be supportive, and all that. So that's the greatest thing that you can increase the chance of being reborn as humans, because we never know whether we can enlighten in this life, but we're trying our best. But in case it doesn't happen, at least you are trying to reborn as a human, to try out your eligibility to become a Sotapanna even in the next life. So that's good, without being born into a non-human being, which is pretty scary. And Buddha talks about non-human beings and their chance in few other suttas. I want to share with you those suttas. One of the suttas where Buddha talks about this eligibility, as a human being to Nibbana, and then ineligibility of non-human beings towards Nibbana, can be found in two other suttas. This is also from Samyutta Nikaya, and sutta's name is Paṭama Jiggala Yuga Sutta. Samyutta Nikaya, Satya Samyutta, Paṭama Jiggala Yuga Sutta. In this sutta, Buddha says this way: Sayatapi bhikkhave puriso maha samuddo ekachiggalam yugam pakkipe. The same thing, right? Suppose a man would throw a yoke with a single hole into the great ocean. Tatrapissa kano kachapo. So I'm sorry. Tatrapissa kano kachapo. Kano is blind. Kachapo is a turtle. Tatrapissa kano kachapo. So vassa satassa achayena sucking ummucheya. Okay. Suppose a man would throw a yoke with a single hole into the great ocean, and there was a blind turtle. I made a mistake. There was a blind turtle which would come to the surface once every 100 years. So the same incident that we know in the Balapanita. So, but it's a little different. Tankim manyata. Bhikkhave apinuko kano kachapo vassa satassa achena sucking ummujjanto amusmin ekacheggale yuge givam paveseyati yadinuna bhante kadachi karahachi diga sadduno achenati. Now the question is, after Buddha said this example where a man would throw a yoke with a single hole into the great ocean, and there was a blind turtle which would come to the surface once every 100 years, and then Buddha questions, would that blind turtle come to the surface, insert his neck inside inside that yolk with a single hole, right? which is the same example, but say something with that. Kippatarang ko so bhikkave kano kacchapo vasasatas achena saking umujjanto amusmin ekachiggale yuge givan paveseya. Right? Yes, he could by chance he could insert his neck inside this yolk with a single hole by chance, but it's not guaranteed, right? Because there is a possibility, right? It's by chance, right? Why is it? And the Buddha says, Natvevahang bhikkave saking vinipata gatena balena manussatang vadami. Okay, that means it is the same thing that happens to someone who is in the samsara, who is a non-human being and who wants to become a human being, and that possibility is like that one-eyed turtle, one-eye blind turtle who is trying to insert his neck into that yolk with a one hole. It is pretty much by chance and not guaranteed. The same thing happens to a non-human being who wants to become a human being. Not for us, not for human beings. And then Buddha explains the life of a non-human being. Tankisa hetu nahetta bhikkave atti dhammacharya samacharya kusala kiriya punya kiriya anya manya kadika etta bhikkave vattati dubbaladika tankisa hetu. That's interesting. This is because according to the sutta, in those realms, especially the apayas, there is no Dhamma. There is no Dhamma. They don't hear anything about Dhamma. No practicing what is right, what is wholesome, and not performing of merit like you. At least you know Dhamma, at least you practice, at least you are increasing, you are trying to do more good karma, right? I mean, at least you are trying to do more kusala, right? And it is also said that what happens? What do they do? Natti dhammacharya, there is no practicing of wholesome things. Samacharya, no living in spiritual karma, no harmonious living, because animals are not living in harmony, right? Kusala Kriya, no performing of kusalas. Punya Kriya, no performing of punyas. Anya manya kadika itta bhikkave. They are eating each other, fighting each other all the time, most of the animals, right? So there's no Dhamma. So they don't have any, they have a very rare possibility, very, very rare possibility, unless a karma from a different life is going to affect them. Buddha says in the classification of karma that there are different karmas, right? Some karmas affect you next life, some karmas affect you in two lives ahead, some karmas affect after 2 lives, some karmas can be neutralized or something. So anyways, non-human beings have a very low possibility in becoming human beings because they don't practice Dhamma, right? You need to, okay. And the other thing is, what is Dhamma meant by the Buddha at this point? Because Buddha says that they don't practice Dhamma, they don't practice kusala, they don't practice harmonious living, they don't practice punya, they eat each other. The main thing that they don't know is tankisa hetu adittattha bhikkave chatunnang ariya satchanang katamesang chatunnang dukkassa ariya satchassa dukkha nirodhagaminiya patipada ariya satcha, so and so forth. That means they never know the Four Noble Truths even by names. Now, people like you know The Four Noble Truths, even by name, we call it Satchanyana, because Four Noble Truths, they have 12 parts, right? One has to understand the Four Noble Truths in 12 parts. We call them Tiparivatta Dwadasakara. That means each Noble Truth has 3 parts. For example, Dukkha Arya Satya, Dukkha Samudaya Arya Satya, Dukkha Nirodha Arya Satya, Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada Arya Satya. So Dukkha Arya Satya has 3 parts: Satchanyana, Krutyanyana, and Krutanyana. We call it Satyanyana, Krutyanyana, Krutanyana. And Dukkha Samudaya Arya Satya has 3 parts, the same part: Satyanyana, Krutyanyana, Krutanyana. Dukkha Nirodha Arya Satya also has 3 parts, the same way. We call it Satchanyana, Krutyanyana, Krutanyana. Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada Arya Satya also has 3 things, the same way, in the same way as in the other Satyas. Satyanyana, Krutyanyana, Krutanyana. What are they? What is Satyanyana? What is Krutyanyana? What is Krutanyana? Satyanyana means knowing the noble truth, any noble truth, by its explanation. Now we know each Satya by explanation. We know what is basically Dukkha Arya Satya, what is basically Dukkha Samudaya Arya Satya, what is basically Dukkha Nirodha Arya Satya, what is basically Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada Arya Satya, right? So that literal explanatory knowledge of each Satya is Satyanyana. Krutanyana is the role, okay, what you need to do in terms of understanding that particular truth is Krutanyana. For example, I would say regarding the first truth, Dukkha Arya Satya. So what is Dukkha Arya Satya? What do we need to do to understand Dukkha Arya Satya, right? And Buddha has extensively explained Dukkha Arya Satya and all these Satyas in Satya Vibhanga Sutta and Dhamma Chakkappavatthana Sutta. So the methodology of understanding, or I would say what we need to do to understand each Satya, is called Krutanyana. So Krutanyana means when you are done each Satya understanding, when you are done with your understanding of each jnana, you are coming to a point where you have Krutanyana. So Satyanyana, Krutanyana, Krutanyana. So now my point is that we all at least have this first jnana, first part, first element. That means Satyanyana. But animals don't have any idea about it. I mean, non-humans, mostly these non-humans don't, have any idea about it. So that's why Buddha says why the non-human beings are struggling a lot in becoming humans, because they never have any thought about, Arya Satyas or Kusalas, Punyas. We can assume that they are doing the way that we think, but they are not, according to this sutta. Okay. Also, you might perhaps remember Dhammapada stanza where which Buddha talks about the human birth. By Kicho Manusa Patilabo, obtaining a human birth is very rare. So it's connected to this teaching. So that's one part of this discussion, to understand how difficult is it to be born as a human and why human birth is important compared to non-human beings. Okay. And then I wanna share with you why is the human birth very important. Okay, why is the human birth very important? But depending on different favorable conditions. So let's say beside being born as a human, there are favorable conditions for your human birth. let's take a look at those favorable conditions, whether you already have them or not. The first favorable condition after you become a human is being born a human at a time when a Buddha has arisen. Now, that's interesting. Now, at this time, the Buddha is no more. But this also means the opportunity of being able to learn Dhamma even after his death. We have his Dhamma, right? Even it's been 2,500 years ago, but we still have his Dhamma. So it is just as he is still living with us in a way. So we have this favorable condition. So we are born as humans. At the same time, we are very fortunate to learn his Dhamma, right? That's very interesting. So it's a favorable condition, and then we all have it, but it depends on how much you are benefiting from that Dhamma, or whether you are just a listener, whether you are just a reader of Dhamma, and if you are not putting Dhamma in action, if you are not applying the Dhamma that you are learning into your practice, I don't think you are getting the full benefits. So that's the most important thing, not just talking Dhamma. Now, I'm always encouraging, Paṭisota is always encouraging you to learn Dhamma, but do not stop just by listening, just by watching Dhamma talks, Abhidhamma talks, whatever. Practice more. Practice more. Dhamma. Dhamma has to be practiced all the time, and that has to be the most important thing in our spiritual journey. It doesn't mean you can listen to, you don't need to listen, you don't need to watch. You can watch, you can listen, but try to practice more, right? That's interesting. If you practice Dhamma, more than you listen to Dhamma, then you are really getting this favorable condition that we talk as the first. Being born as a human at a time when a Buddha has arisen, and you are learning and you are practicing the full Dhamma into your life. Second, being born a human in countries where the Dhamma is known. Now, this is interesting too. And I think with the cutting edge technology, we learn Dhamma from internet, like today. But at that time, there was a saying that if you are reborn in a country where you can learn Dhamma, that could be a favorable condition for your human birth. Commentarian, they say the country is central lands. What is a central land? They say central land means a place where you can have one of these noble beings, bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, upasaka, upasika. So where you can meet, where you can talk, where you can get a piece of advice into your spiritual journey. Monks, nuns, lay devotees, laymen, laywomen. So if you can find them, that could be a good place to live. I don't think that moving to different countries is that easy for every being, or changing the country, changing the locality is that easy. But if you are living in a neighborhood where there are a lot of crimes, where there are a lot of problems, where there are people who are always messing you up, where there are people who are always irritating, annoying you, if you could do everything that you could do to sort of subsume the situation, but if things don't work out, you can change the locality in a better way. Sometimes if you think you want to change the place because you don't find monks, nuns, upasakas, upasikas, that could be a favorable condition. I don't think everybody can do that, but there could be an effect for your human life. Number 3, being born a human who has the physical and intellectual capacity to grasp the basic message of the Dhamma. Now, this is what we call in Pali kana sampatti. Kana, Khana, Kana Sampatti. Kana Sampatti means, friends, now even if you are a human, but if you are a person who has different, you know, issues, you know, bodily, physical issues and mental issues, I know that there are beings who can still listen to Dhamma and then they can practice Dhamma. But if you are born with some issues, then that could be a kind of a problem to your human life. I mean, it's not a favorable thing. And if you are born without any of those issues, see how lucky you are, and then you should definitely practice Dhamma to attain Sotapanna. I mean, you are so lucky. That doesn't mean that we are disrespecting any of those beings. We respect them, we should take care of them. But since you are free from all those issues, you have a far more opportunity to practice Dhamma. They also can practice Dhamma easily in today's technology. But the thing is that because you don't have any issues in your life, please make use of that thing. Otherwise, you are wasting your human life. Physical and intellectual capacity. So if you can have a body free from any issue, if you can have a mind which is very intellectual, why don't you use Dhamma to increase your potential to attain Sotapanna, at least to understand the Four Noble Truths. Okay. Number 4, accepting the relationship between good and evil action. That means Sammaditthi. Now, this is very interesting, folks, because a lot of people don't know Sammaditthi. We call it wholesome view. Some people call it right view. Has 2 parts. The first one we call Sāsava Punyabhagya Upadivepakka. That means there is a Sammaditthi which is with defilements, but still that person knows what is right, what is wrong, what is wholesome, what is unwholesome, and all that. Even the knowledge of separating out kusala and akusala is called Sammaditthi. Now, for those folks who watch my Abhidhamma, discussion last week, may have understood that in the Abhidhamma they talk about kind of a view wherein you don't have wrong view. That means you have a view that that this is bad, this particular activity is bad, but with that in mind, still people are rationalizing to do bad things. That means we can call it as kind of Sammaditthi, but it's not that full Sammaditthi that we know in becoming a Lokottara person, kind of a non-secular transcendental person. The secular Sammaditthi, as I told you, by Sāsava Punyabhagya Upadivepakka, means being able to separate out kusala and akusala, right? And the relationship of karma and vipaka. So this is called secular Sammaditthi. So if people do not try to understand the difference between good and, I would say, kusala and akusala, that's not going to be a favorable human life. Because if people are going to be amoral, they will never understand the preciousness of human life. So you must understand the preciousness of your human birth by separating out kusala and akusala. Basically, I would say karma and vipaka. Because if you don't understand karma and vipaka, that means you don't have Sammaditthi. I would say secular Sammaditthi. Sāsava Punyabhagya Upadivepakka. So this is mentioned in the Mahachattārisaka Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, 2 Sammaditthis. Okay. And the 5th favorable condition for a human birth is confidence in the moral teaching. Yes, a lot of people question about spirituality of their loved ones. I know there are people who always say, people I like, people I'm with, they are good, but they are not spiritual. I mean, they are not spiritually driven, spiritually motivated. People like to be spiritual because you don't need to be religious, you don't need to be a Buddhist to be spiritual. So, I mean, there should be a trust in the moral teachings. I mean, spiritual teachings. Now, for example, I would say all the good teachings, regardless of this religion, that religion, we should be able to, have a positive attitude towards those good teachings, because they are bringing the humanity, they are bringing the whole world, to a fruition of, you know, good aspects, spiritual aspects of beings. So we should be able to trust those moral teachings. Now, in this case, Buddhist teachings, as we know, Buddhist teachings, we are trusting the Buddhist teachings. We know that those teachings will definitely bring a lot of happiness to the entire universe. Number 6, avoiding crimes against beings. Now, this is very interesting in modern day life. We should never tolerate people who are doing crimes. So, when you are a human, when you're born as a human, your role is not to do any crime. We have to wish this whole universe a place where people don't make crimes, where people respect each other, where people understand how much other people love their loved ones. I think this is very interesting. A lot of people, they commit crimes in a mentality where they don't understand how much the beings that they are gonna make harm love the other loved people in that person's circle, right? Let's say if there's a person who is going to do a harm to another person, another being, if that person who's gonna make or commit kind of a crime to that person understands before, okay, if this happens, what will happen to his or her other beings? So how much love is being shared between this individual who I'm gonna victimize and his families and her family. So if we think that way, I think this world will be a much better place. That's why we should avoid crimes, any kind of crime in our life, and that will be a highly favorable condition for your human birth. And the last favorable condition for the human birth is having a sincere compassion for other people. Yeah, compassion is a bigger topic in today's world. I think compassion comes when you are mindful. So when you are mindful, you understand what kind of an attitude that you need to, spread towards other people. Now, I always classify, I always prioritize these, high virtues, this way. First, one has to prioritize mindfulness, and then one has to practice compassion, because with mindfulness you are really able to practice compassion, because if you are not understanding what's going on, you will never be compassionate, right? That's why you see a difference between 2-3 people, and one person is really kind to other person. The other person is asking why I want to be kind, why I want to be compassionate, because that person is not mindful. And the person who was mindful knew that there is something wrong happening. I want to help this person out, right? So mindfulness, compassion, and forgiveness. So forgiveness is a big thing, because forgiveness is something that a lot of people do not pay that much attention, and they want to hold on to grudges and past memories of what happened with other people. So that's why we need to go by this particular priority. That means mindfulness, compassion, and forgiveness, and these 3 are really good gradual avenues to practice these good virtues in a better way. So this is very interesting. I mean, these seven favorable conditions are really important, because they are really giving you to think how precious is your human life. So that's really interesting to understand human life in a better way. And the last thing that I want to do before I move on to how we have to spread equality towards other beings, because when we keep talking about the value of human beings too much, some people want to think bad about other non-human beings. So I want to refute that thought too, because we have to go hand in hand. On one side, I'm trying to explain the preciousness of human birth. On the other side, I want to encourage all of you to practice equality towards other beings. So the second sutta that I want to make use at this point is Dutiya Jiggala Sutta, the next sutta after the Patama Jiggala Yuga Sutta, Dutiya Jiggala Yuga Sutta. In this sutta, Buddha talks about Buddha once again he talks about repeatedly about the preciousness of human life in a different way. Suppose that this great earth had become one mass border, and a man would throw a yoke with a single hole upon it. The same thing that we talked in previous two examples in the first Patama Jiggala Yuga Sutta and the Balapanita Sutta. Suppose that this great earth had become one mass border, and a man would throw a yoke with a single hole upon it. An easterly wind would drive it westward, right? So an easterly wind would drive it westward. So now, if this is a great ocean, then what happens? If somebody is to throw a yoke with a single hole, because of the wind from different sections, the yoke will be driven to different sides because of easterly, southerly, northerly, and westerly winds. And in the same way, there was a blind turtle which would come to the surface once every 100 years. What do you think, monks? Would that blind turtle come to the surface once every 100 years, insert its neck into that yoke with a single hole? It would be by chance. So the same example, but in this case, Buddha uses an example of throwing the yoke with a single hole into the ocean, and because of the winds that come from eastern part of the ocean, western part of the ocean, southern part of the ocean, northern part of the ocean, the yoke gets driven to different sides. In the same way, a turtle is trying to look outside of the ocean through that particular thing, in case if it comes to his one of the eyes because it's blind. So that kind of an impossibility is for a non-human being to become a human being. Okay, so all in all, what I want to say is that don't be too much proud about your human birth, but be humble and be happy that you were able to become a human. Why you need to be happy? Because you are super eligible to attain Sotapanna or any other states of Arhathood. So try to practice all the things to attain Sotapanna or other states of Arhathood. That's the only thing why I'm saying human birth is very important. The second part is never ever insult a non-human being simply because they couldn't become a human being. Why I'm saying that? Because the second part of our conversation is how does the value of human birth cultivate the mind and equality of others. So okay, I actually sort of like missed out on this. How does the value of human birth, so this kind of a human birth, cultivate the mind? Yes, when you have a flawless human birth like this, you can cultivate your mind very easily, unlikely a non-human being, right? So the second part is equality of others. Yes, as the people who follow the Buddha's teachings, we have to respect all the beings. All the beings. It could be a small animal, it could be a large animal, but we're gonna be respectful. We're gonna take care of them. We're gonna do whatever we can do. We know the pains that they are suffering. So, but we know that our interactions should mainly go to humans, but we should take care of them. We should never despise, insult non-human beings, and we have to understand they are going on a sansaric journey, and so we need to help them. We need to wish them free from their pains and sufferings, right? Because that's very interesting. Also, the other human beings who were physically and mentally disabled, we should not look at their life, always by karma, because we need to help them out. We need to take care of them. We need to have a very good mindset about them, even though different karmas are making people different. So what I want to say at the end is that we should appreciate our human birth. If your human birth is free from any problem, in modern day life, people have different thoughts about different individuals, based on gender, based on sexual what do you call sexual manifestation, and so on and so forth. We have to be compassionate. We have to be, no, you can't be compassionate towards those beings unless you are mindful. You have to be mindful so that you will understand this importance of compassion, and then you may have to forgive people in your life who may have been mean to you. So with all this in mind, you are trying to be humble, and you are trying to make most of your human life, because you are highly eligible for your spirituality in terms of attaining Nibbana. On the other hand, you are treating every being in the same way, respecting, taking care of them, not thinking that I'm better than them, I'm higher than them, I have done a lot of good karmas better than these animals, and you have to take care of them. But you are making your own journey with mindfulness, compassion, forgiveness. At the same time, having a very positive, having a very compassionate perspective towards all the other men. So that's what I want to share with you today. So appreciate your human life by practicing the path to Nibbana. That's the only way, that's the only thing you can do to really feel the preciousness of your human birth, and there are no other things. But I kind of shared some favorable points so that you would be able to increase your human birth. On the other hand, let's treat every being, not even human being, respectfully and with dignity. Okay, let me see if there are any other questions. I don't think there are any questions for today, so let me close the discussion by sharing all the good karmas. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating so far be shared by all the departed relatives who passed away in the name of all of you. May they be happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Also, let's share all the good karmas with the devas and the nagas. May they be happy and peaceful. May all the devas and nagas share all these good karmas, and may they also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ittavata cha ammihi sambatang punya sampadang Sabbe deva anumodantu, sabbe bhuta anumodantu, sabbe satta anumodantu, sabba sampatti sindhya, akasattha chabummattha, devanaga mahintika, punyantang anumoditva, chirang rakkhang tulukasasanang, chirang rakkhang tudesanang, chirang rakkhang tumang paranti. Finally, let's make a great wish. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating in all these ways be helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana silisse nichang vaddha pachayino chattaru dhamma vaddhanti ayuvannu sukhang balang ayurarokya sampatti sagga sampatti me vache ato nibbana sampatti iminati saminchatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And I have an announcement. Abhidhamma for Daily Life series, which is under Dhamma Paṭisota, is continuing, and this Wednesday's talk is gonna be rootless thoughts. There are 18 rootless thoughts we call ahetuka chittas. And we started Abhidhamma with an introduction a couple of weeks ago, and last Wednesday, and I did a discussion about the 14 akusala thoughts, states of unwholesome consciousness. And this Wednesday, I'm going to be talking 18 ahetuka chittas. So please stay tuned for the discussion on Wednesday too. Have a good night, have a good morning, and take care. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.